What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Underground Crypto Deep Dive Show. Let's get this thing cooking. Let's get it rolling. All right, cool. I was a little bit afraid that wasn't going to work. All right, get that camera in frame like it's supposed to be. How about this 4-hour chart, everybody? Fix this microphone. All right, now I think we're good. So yeah, check out this 4-hour chart where we've been starting the stream off above the 200-day moving average, above the 21, almost looking like it's getting a nice little bounce right there off of the 21. Looks good. Where to from here is the question, right? Let's go look at, say, the daily. What's the daily look like? Haven't been looking a ton at the daily. Mostly just been watching that 4-hour chart. Do we get something like that? Is it going to run up to the 200 on the daily? Right now it's at like 72, but by the time we got there, it'd probably be something more like 69, 70,000. Definitely worth keeping an eye on, though. See if we get rejected at any of those points. Of course, you have the 8-hour right now is where we are. We want to see if we're going to get rejected on that 8-hour time frame. Let's see what these Stokes are doing. They're still pointed down. Both the RSI and the stochastic RSI. How's my undergrounders out there? How y'all doing? Today has been it's been a long day. Strugahart in the building, Melissa in the building, Cryptic Quentin in the building. Hello, friends. Hello back to you. Welcome in, welcome in. I got a whole show planned out for you guys today. And this week, we are conducting the crypto recovery test. That is the idea of the stream. Trying to examine the evidence that would prove this market recovery is real and not just like a big dead cat bounce on the higher time frames. So tonight our question is relatively simple. Can Ethereum lead the next crypto rally? Ethereum has recovered from approximately 1,500 earlier this month to around 1,900, 1,950 range. It has also gained approximately 9% against Bitcoin over the past month, with the ETH BTC ratio near 0.029, if you understand the ratio ETH compared to BTC. Institutional demand is improving as well. We talked a lot about that yesterday. Yesterday was kind of all about institutionals. Blues Guy, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for being here. US spot Ethereum ETFs recorded approximately 38 million in net inflows on July 20th and another 37 million on July 21st. BlackRock's ETHA attracted about 52 million on the 21st of July, although a 15.3 million Fidelity outflow reduced the category's final total overall. So BlackRock bought a bunch, but a couple of people sold, and that kind of brought the overall number down, right? Those are encouraging signals, but Ethereum does not become the market leader simply because of its price, because its price goes up. Tonight we will define Ethereum's leadership, test the evidence, and determine what ETH must do to prove that the market is truly rotating in this direction, in Ethereum's direction specifically. Let's increase that crypto IQ. Make sure we're up to date on the chat. Thank you for being here. Smash that like button. We will be over to the crypto bubbles in a minute, and we will start kind of seeing what the heck has been going on for the day, as I've been kind of running around all day. Quote of the day: price is what you pay, value is what you get, Warren Buffett. And that connects great to tonight because Ethereum's price can rise because traders are rotating into ETH. Lasting leadership requires network usage, though, right? Demand and economics to support that price over time. Basically saying just because something pumps doesn't mean it's valuable, and just because something's down doesn't mean it's not, valuable. All right. Ethereum can become more successful as a network without ETH immediately becoming more valuable as an asset. So this is what you may not know. This is what you may not be thinking about. Ethereum's layer 2 network process transaction cheaply and efficiently, right? These are the layer 2s. We've been over why layer 2s exist, right? Hopefully you guys remember that. That helps users in the application, but it also means less activity occurs directly on Ethereum's main chain, the more expensive base layer. The result is, I don't know if you've ever really thought about this, lower fees make the ecosystem easier to use. Layer 2 networks can attract more applications and users, probably because the fees are lower. Less activity on Ethereum's base layer can reduce fee revenue. And lower base layer fees can mean less ETH is actually burned. So you see kind of the trade-off here. Economic activity may grow without equal value returning directly to Ethereum, the native asset. This is a big deal. This is what's called the value capture question. If Ethereum's ecosystem grows, how much of that growth ultimately creates demand for Ethereum itself? That question is central to deciding whether Ethereum can lead sustainably. And that is really where we are at tonight. That is what we are going to be talking about. Can Ethereum lead this next charge in the market? Let's get on over to those crypto bubbles. Here we are. All right, we have DXY down another 37%. This thing just absolutely crushed overnight. What happened? Did one player own way too much of this? It's what it seems like a little bit. Getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start with 1 through 100. Let's look at the 1 through 1,000. Don't see any category really up a lot or down a lot. Everything, you know, up or down less than 1%. Look at flare price. I am so bullish. Yeah, we will when we get to that rundown today, right? I hear the Discord going off in the background. Let me check on it real quick. All right, nothing important I need to see there. Melissa, if anything pops real hard, please let me know. She knows what I'm talking about. All right, 1 through 100. So we got Hashbeat, Morphos down a little bit. Nothing crazy here. H-bar seems like a pretty lackluster day. I mean, we've been in some other spaces, and this seems about right. This seems about what the liquidity and attention has been today, just kind of mid. UB's up 13%. The XC's down 37%. Hex is up 6%. DYDX up 5%. Tagger down 8%. Build On down 9%. Radium down 5%. And this XEC eCash is down 6%. Where's Ondo? I know somebody was trying to correlate that to Ondo. Strikehart's already. He's ready. He's ready for the giveaway. I didn't plan a giveaway today. We'll see. Maybe I'll spontaneously do a giveaway. I'm not sure. Bank is up 27%. I know Camsta came in here and asked about Bank. Lorenzo Protocol. We have this Unify with AI at the end, right? Unify Network. Zama up 22%. Haven't really highlighted Zama in a while, but we were watching that coin over on Crypto Rank for, it felt like a month and a half, 2 months before it actually generated its coin. So I'm glad to see it's still around and kicking and not at the bottom of the barrel. Blues Guy said, UG, was referring to what you were saying about the value of crypto and price. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. We will still look at the number. I haven't looked at it in a little bit. Numbers see me. That's hilarious. So Re is pumping 17%. Honestly, this 2 to 300 has some of the biggest green bubbles on the day. Nothing huge to report on. This was down a bunch yesterday. It looks like it's down a bunch today, too. This thing got hit pretty hard. Is this like the trend that we've been seeing a lot? Is it because I pay more attention to it on a daily basis, or what is it? I'm not exactly sure what the reason for it all is. All I know is that it is definitely a trend here, like Meme Core, Lab, DXY, just these big, you know, swing down. Just like somebody had way too much of the supply kind of deal, and they just sold it, and it's gone, and that's it, right? That's the end of it. Very interesting. And we usually only go 2 to 300 here. We will move along. I was buying a tiny bit of flour for Sunflower, game that we commonly play on stream. I'm not going to play it now, just teasing it for anybody who saw that I was over on the flour. What do you want to call it? Page? Cryptic Quentin said, I got wrecked on Gwei, man. What happened to Gwei? I mean, I saw it pull back a little bit. I mean, we are bottom of the bear market vibes. Gwei is it's a newer project, like comparatively. I'm not sure when you bought it. Wow, this thing did pull back. On the max chart, it came out around 23.9 million in market cap. That was around the 21st, January 21st. It ran all the way up to about 384,000. I don't know when you bought it. Something runs up this much this quick, got to take a little bit of profit off the table. At least take kind of whatever you put into it back. Like if you bought $50 and your $50 turned into $300 on these big run-ups, you might want to think about taking $50 out. It's my personal opinion. It's not financial advice. This is what I would do. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. That way, if something like this does happen, you don't get too crushed, right? And I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know when you bought. I don't know if you bought back here when it first came out, if you DCA'd over time. I don't know if there's any news around it. BNB chain, Ethereum, infrastructure. Obviously, it's called Gwei. It's like the gas, right? I believe it's like the equivalent of like a Satoshi. But I feel you, Cryptic Quentin. I have my share of losses, for sure. And I have my share of wins. It kind of comes with the territory. I just think about not risking too much in one asset so that I'm kind of spread across. And if something does really well and something does really bad, they kind of even themselves out, right? And then as the market pumps, maybe we could do a little bit better. I can't tell you how many times I've got, kind of dumped on by a project because I was early on and I didn't understand tokenomics and stuff. Still happens from time to time. You get a big drawback. And I've held it for long periods of time until I was at break even or in slight profit, and then I sold it off and got rid of it, right? I DCA'd at 6 cents. It's spot, so I still have it. Hodling like a doofus. Yeah, I feel you. I've got a lot of those positions. I tell you, I bought Jasmy. I always talk about how Jasmy is one of the worst purchases I ever made. The timing looked good. Everything looked good. Sometimes everything lines up. Everything looks like it's go, and you buy, and the market doesn't go. That would have been the whole year of 2025 when we were supposed to, at some point, have a blow-off top for the altcoins, and it never happened. That's what speculating in the market is all about, right? Risk management and evaluating on a daily basis. And it can be hard sometimes not to get married to a bag. All this learning about pump.fun and stuff definitely helps you learn to not get married to a bag and just sell the thing when you're up. Anyways, that's for another time. That's for a members only stream, right? Bitcoin is $66,124. Overall market cap $2.3 trillion, down 0.5 today. It seems kind of like a nothing day if you ask me, which is kind of nice. It means Bitcoin didn't drop dramatically. Ethereum didn't drop dramatically. Everything just kind of sideways. Ethereum, $1,935. BNB, actually down 1.7% in the last 7 days, $571. XRP, $1.14. Solana, $78.31. Hyperliquid dropping under $60 here. Hyperliquid's actually down 11.4%. Wouldn't it be crazy? And I'm not hoping for this at all, but wouldn't it be crazy if Hyperliquid did something like Lab or Dexy just did? Because Dexy was up there. It was in the top 30 crypto for sure. I can't remember exactly where it was hanging out, but it was definitely in the top 30, I'm pretty sure. CCP says Moon. I'm thinking of a number between A and B. Nailed it. I tell you, it cracks me up every time you come in here. Thanks for being here. Dogecoin about flat 7 cents. We have, again, USDG. I saw that. Oh, well, maybe we haven't got it yet. That's Robinhood stablecoin. I probably only say that for like another couple of days, because now you guys should know that Robinhood's ecosystem is here, even if they're, guess, not going to have a whole lot of meme coin craze. Zcash, $518. XMR, $351. Very interesting. Zcash is down 10.5% in the last 7 days, and Monero is up 7%. So are we seeing some money like rotate into XMR? Cardano, 17.5 cents. Chainlink, $8.65. Stella, Lumen, XLM, down almost 1% to high 18 cents. Canton Network, 12 cents, down 10%. Could be a decent entry or time to start DCAing into Canton. I'm not sure. I kind of wanted to build a little bit of a position, but it's already up so high, at 4.7 billion. Kind of like to get something a little lower than that. Toncoin or Gram, $1.50. There's the USDG, that is Robinhood stablecoin. SWE still holding up nice, actually. HBAR getting a little bit of a pump here, 7%. And we'll check on our way down here. It's what we normally look at. Memecore, $1.13. If there's something you want me to look at the price every day for you because it's something you're really into, just let me know. Flare, chilling at number 85. Looking pretty good, honestly. 0.00669. Or just really, you could say 0.006. Yeah, it's up in the last 7 days a little bit. It's down a little bit today. Looks like a big falling wedge in price action here on the 7-day chart above my head. Probably going to round out, though. Doesn't quite look like a good wedge. It looks like it's probably going to make a slow cup. And then probably a handle. And we'll see what we get from there. Let's go check out what is trending over on CoinGecko, as we always do. What do we need to pay attention to? What do we need to keep an eye on? We got Zama up 37.3% in the last 7 days. It only has 105 million, right? Which, depending on kind of what arena you hang out in, that could be a large market cap or that could be a tiny market cap. Just kind of depends. If you like to hang out and pay attention and speculate on, say, the top 30, the top 20 in crypto market, this is a great market cap if you like the project, right? I'm not saying Zama. I'm using Zama as an example, of course. But if you're like hanging out in the realm of meme coins, right, where things are like tiny market caps, and that's a really big market cap. So it's kind of all perspective, such as life. Ondo up 13.4%. Ondo hit not an all-time high, but like a local high here recently, higher than it had been in like a year or something like that. Pawns, we talked about Pawns. Pawns is a launch pad for Robinhood. And we'll roll to their website real quick. 22.3 million here at about almost 3 cents. It's up 150% since it token generated about the 14th of July, 2026. A billion max supply, almost 800 million. That leaves about 200 million coins to come out into circulation. You can see it's Robinhood exclusive here. You don't see any other contracts for it. A little Robinhood symbol. That tells you it's Robinhood, even though I already told you it was Robinhood. And you see it is a launch pad for coins. And like I said, look, 605. These are like the best performing, right? This one actually has 27 million, this Pawns, right? But my point is about the market caps. If you're hanging out in this arena, 105 million is a high market cap. If you hang out in, say, the top, 20, 30, 40 cryptos, it's a pretty small market cap. So, Jimothy, the raccoon. What is this thing at? 36 million. This thing has been pretty hot in the meme world, for sure. John316, welcome in, says Jasmine thoughts. It's funny, I just mentioned Jasmine just shortly ago. Look at those custom emojis, love that. Thank you for coming through. So, I don't know what I think about Jasmine, to be completely honest with you. I'll pivot for a minute here for you. I don't mind doing that at all. First of all, I hold Jasmy, bought it at a horrible time. I own that 100%. I own all of my purchases, right? And I'm transparent as much as I can remember to tell you information about what I got going on. I'm definitely not pushing Jasmy. Jasmy's down 99.3%. I bought $1,000 worth of Jasmy. And at the end of 2024, I believe, when things were pumping, and it looked like we were going to do really well. I wasn't as good at like deep diving and investigating and stuff. I hadn't taken as much time, especially with Jasmy. I just bought it and thought I would, flip it when it was up like 20%. And it just crashed and continued to crash and crash some more. There's not a whole lot to report here other than it is like a Japanese coin, right? You come to their website, it's like in Japanese. There's like a little bit of English here. It's like an e-commerce or something like that, if I remember correctly. Yeah, what? Let's go to what. Problem with what is that it's in the wrong language for me. IOTA, Internet of Things, right? Like I was saying, it's like economy, Internet of Things, blockchain. Can it come back up? I mean, when I think Japanese crypto, Jasmy comes to mind immediately. So, I mean, there's that. Like, that's a good thing. But as far as it actually doing well, it was pumping off of some speculation back in the day that they were going to have a partnership with, I believe, Sony. And then that never really panned out. So, if you're down on Jasmy, just know I'm probably down more than you. Not that it's a competition, but I feel your pain. I understand. You can't win them all, and sometimes you're just going to get a little swept up in what's going on and make a bad call, right? It happens to the best of us. But I have faith that if you, raise your crypto IQ, stick around long enough. I have coins that I have hit good on, right, that have made up for things like that. But it still kind of stings a little bit when you think about it. It's like when I think about how I almost bought Bitcoin at 50 cents. When I was like 19, maybe 20. And no matter what, it always stings a little bit. It really does. All right, let's see what that fear and greed index is at. Pulled back slightly. I think it was 33 yesterday. No, it was 25. Let's refresh this. Doesn't seem right. Guys, wasn't the fear and greed index like 33 yesterday? You know what it is? There's probably like a certain time when it prints these little bars or when it captures whatever it is. And it probably moved like in between those times. It's the only thing I can think of. For some reason, it's not refreshing. It says it's 33 today. I'm pretty sure it was 33 yesterday, but maybe somebody out there can confirm that for me if you're watching. And we'll go look at the coins here that are trending. But before we get into all of that, right, yesterday we talked about institutions. Remember, we're always trying to raise that crypto IQ. One thing I want to say before we even get into the story-orientated introduction to tonight, right, and what we're going to be learning about is in a bear market, especially where we're at, if you want to be hyper-technical, like for what is it, like 300 and something days from the last bottom, it would be like October 5th, which is not far away. But either way, it can get really hard, right? It can get hard to be interested. It can be hard to watch your prices drop, and if you bought, you get what I'm saying. Especially if you have a decent amount of money set aside, or you have a paycheck where you can DCA, it can be really exciting when you think about how cheap you're getting it. But really only if you're thinking on a longer time scale, right? 4-year cycle, something of that nature. Because if you're just super dialed in to the 1 minute on a lot of these assets, watching them every day, you're going to be really burned out. And I say 1 minute, it could be the 5 minute, it could be the hour. You're going to get probably pretty burned out. That's why sometimes it's good to just educate and kind of back away and see what you can learn about how everything works, how the players operate, news cycles, liquidity, like all of the different things, the narratives, how they cycle. Wherever you can pick up some information, it'll probably do you a lot of good. I always say think long term. It's like my outro and in a lot of my reels. And I really believe that thinking long term is a huge key to winning in this arena. Because if you stay too dialed in, especially in a bear market, it can burn you out, and it can also really take a lot of the enthusiasm out of your mind, right? Anyways, let's talk about Ethereum, because this week is all about, is this, I don't know, what do I want to call it? I don't know why I'm at a loss for words right now. Is this rally really the bottom of the bear market, or is it not? And so we're trying to come up with some ways to think about the metrics and the data that we have available to us to think, is this a sustainable, real trend change, or is this just like a dead cat bounce on the larger time frames? So Ethereum is always, quote unquote, about to lead. That's the problem. So we always start with the problem, right? I am a little tired, guys. I'm sorry if that's a little obvious. Thoughts on USDT versus USDC versus USD? I'm not so sure about the USD. What particularly is USD? I know USDT and USDC. USDT is going to be probably for the rest of the world, and USDC is going to be predominantly for the West. Now, how well, they've already done it in Europe, I'm pretty sure, but how well they're going to be able to run it out of American markets, I don't know. Everybody's so accustomed to using USDT. I use it all the time for everything. I almost always pick USDT over USDC just because it's what I've used. It's what you get, whatever you're familiar with, you have a tendency to keep doing, right? So when I go to like a swap and you have your coin and I'm going to swap out of something, I just go to USDT unless an ecosystem doesn't let me. Like I've been messing around a little bit with Robinhood's ecosystem, and I use USDG because that's their stable coin. So that can matter sometimes too. So every time ETH rises faster than Bitcoin for a few days, social media declares that Ethereum season has arrived. And that can really get you turned around. Price targets return, altcoin optimism increases, and traders assume liquidity will immediately spread through the market. That's kind of where we are right now. But short periods of Ethereum outperformance happens inside both bullish and bear markets, basically saying that Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin for a couple of days really doesn't mean anything. A temporary rotation is not the same as sustained leadership or the movement towards an altcoin cycle. The shift here, define leadership before declaring it. Ethereum's leadership requires several signals working together, and we're talking about it leading the market or leading the charge and where the liquidity is running. We're not talking about who's like running the Ethereum foundation when we say leadership, right? We're talking about them just being in the lead. Ethereum rising against the dollar, Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin, persistent ETF demand, growing network and application activity, increasing demand for Ethereum, broader participation from major altcoins. Instead of asking whether ETH went up today, we ask whether capital is consistently choosing Ethereum over other opportunities, especially Bitcoin. USD is trading futures. Oh, you just mean the dollar. You just mean the dollar in general. Sorry, I live in like crypto land so much that when you say like USD, I'm like trying to figure out like what network that is. There's so many stable coins like USD1, World Liberty Finance, USDG, I've mentioned USDT, USDC, and I'm just naming like major ones. There's tons of like USD, EST, like there's just so many little tiny ones too. So you're saying fiat. I mean, it depends on the angle you're asking. I don't think any of it matters, to be honest with you. Like, should you hold dollars in fiat or dollars, like physically, or should you hold them, you know, digitally in the crypto world or digitally in your bank? I think it represents a dollar across the board. I don't think that being in USDT is saving you from inflation. And I know if you're in USD in your bank, you're feeling inflation. Inflation lives in that asset no matter where it is, right? There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. Great shows, brother. Thank you. I've been absent for a bit. My thoughts had never changed. I'm glad to hear that. And, life is life, Sometimes you got to pivot a little bit and focus on some other things. It happens to me all the time. I forgot, is USDC USDT audited regularly to make sure they don't print extra money? Well, I don't know how much you know about actual fiat USD, but all they do is print unlimited money. They're audited. How often they're audited, I don't know. I would love to do a dive on that, but I don't think everybody would find that as interesting as I would. But regardless, I know that USDT has been under scrutiny many, many times. And they've been audited many, many times. And every time, and people drum up so much FUD about it, it's going to go bankrupt. All the money you're holding in USDT will just suddenly be worthless. I mean, that narrative has died down a lot. But for a long time, you heard that rhetoric a lot. Every time they've audited USDT specifically, they've had more money than they thought that they did, right? They have more assets than they thought that they did. And I feel like what they did in USDC is probably the same. In order to appease the government and kind of get them off their back and make themselves look more secure, they bought a bunch of American debt, American bonds, stuff like that on their balance sheet, and that makes America happy. So Ethereum becomes a market signal, because if you're somebody who, sorry, I know I'm pivoting, but I'll pivot right back real quick. If you're somebody who buys large amounts of American debt, you become a friend and an ally to the United States government, dollar, global leadership. Not that it's a bad thing, but you become more of an ally than an opponent, right? Let's get back on track here. Let's finish this up. Ethereum becomes a market signal if we pay attention. If Ethereum establishes real leadership, being ahead of everything else, it tells us something larger than the future of one asset. It can signal that investors are moving from Bitcoin preservation to Ethereum growth, and that goes to altcoin season, which is broader crypto risk. That makes Ethereum one of the most useful indicators for determining whether the recovery is expanding beyond Bitcoin. This might sound overly simple. You probably heard altcoin season one too many times, but this is actually really, really good stuff when evaluating the market, because that's how the money flows. If you've never seen a chart or have somebody really sit down and explain it, if you can't think in your head the process in which the money goes from being locked in Bitcoin to say maybe being over in Ethereum to moving to altcoins to moving to super low cap gems even, then that is really worth understanding. Because if you're buying lower in the market cap and lower tier broader risk crypto, things like number 500 by market cap, 600 by market cap or lower for sure, then you need to know how the money gets there so those assets can appreciate. And what we saw a lot in 2025 is Bitcoin getting money flowing into it, the money starting to flow into Ethereum, and then Bitcoin would drop in price, and then everybody would run out. They would know that the money's not going to flow into the broader altcoins, and that is a problem. It's something that's very, very, very worth understanding. I wouldn't think it's that dry, but I love learning about stuff. So for some people, anything that requires them to think a little bit is just like the end of the world. But they're probably not on this stream. Yeah, it says they should, but I don't think they are as far as USDC, USDT exactly. So let's make this the top 20, not the top 10. Let's see what's going on over here. Right now, we're mostly looking for coins that are in funding rounds. Again, everything, we did a whole show about institutions yesterday. Everything is pretty much geared towards institutions. What was that about? Was that just... Crypto Rank forgot to pay for their hosting service, huh? Those bills getting expensive, yeah. Wow. Okay, well that's problematic. What a great time to pivot to the news. because I don't know what's going on with crypto rank. But you know what? We were trying to look at that fear and greed index and stuff. It was acting a little weird. All right, so our news, the way that we pull it, we use in ChatGPT. The first ones are usually all about Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, and we'll just read headlines. We're not going to read it because, like, you've probably seen the price. We're doing pretty well. We're above the 200-day moving average on the 4-hour, and we're basically pressing up against it on the 8-hour. So it's an important moment, but every 200 that we get above there is an important moment, if you ask me, on every time frame, all the way up to the daily, the weekly, the monthly. Bitcoin pullback after hitting a 1-month high, meaning it's the highest it's been in a month. It's not really a monumental metric necessarily. Bitcoin dominance rose as money moved away from altcoins. These stories get a lot better the deeper we get. Altcoin sellers are still active. So CoinDesk derivative shows broad negative cumulative volume deltas across major tokens, meaning sellers are leading the action. Hype or Hyperliquid has rising future open interest with slightly negative funding. Option traders are still looking for the upside. The Clarity Act draft is out now. So there has been, if you've been paying attention, you've been on Twitter, you've been anywhere, the Clarity Act is getting kind of a renewance of interest again as the draft is finally out, right? So Senate Republicans released 616-page version of the Clarity Act, combining earlier Senate Banking and Agricultural Committee versions. Remember, we talked about why the Agricultural Committee actually is highly responsible for shaping crypto regulation. Do you remember what that was about? Versions into one major crypto market structure bill. The bill could head towards the Senate vote as soon as next week. This is the biggest policy story today. The market finally has draft text, but it's not a done deal, right? Got to get it into the hands of the people who matter. Let them argue about it and see if we can get it across, right? The ethics section is still the main fight. So we're going to get into the Clarity Act probably for a couple of stories maybe. The latest Clarity Act draft would restrict presidents, vice presidents, members of Congress, and other federal officials and spouses from issuing or sponsoring digital assets while in office. This is a good provision. This is basically the equivalent of insider trading, right? In a broader section, but it's the idea that you're involved with a lot of the regulation, so you shouldn't be allowed to go bet or sponsor or any of that jazz, right? You can't help the market in any way, right? Or benefit from it. But the provision has a sunset date of January 20th, 2029, so it would only be in act for some time, and enforcement would sit with the Justice Department, which Democrats are already criticizing. Criminalizing, that's what I think I was about to say. I don't know where that came from. The clean read here is the bill has momentum, but ethics language may still block partisan support. They're going to argue about it, right? It seems to be like a Republican-led thing. I don't get highly political on this show. This show is about crypto IQ. But when things go through the U.S. government, Republicans or Democrats are in there, and that infighting always kind of comes to the surface because it makes for good news. It stirs people up, gets them all emotional. Democrats say the bill still falls short. So the bloc reported that several Senate Democrats quickly pushed back, saying the draft does not go far enough on ethics, consumer protection, illicit finance, conflicts of interest, or market integrity. This senator, Angela also Brooks, is that her name? Also Brooks, said that the current text falls short. Yeah, it falls short, I guess. The clean read here is the crypto got a bill draft, but no bipartisan support, meaning bipartisan, meaning both sides support it. They're arguing the Republicans put it together, so the Democrats have to find something they don't like, and vice versa. The Republicans do the same thing. I'm not saying any of it's better than the other. Banks are also pushing back, right? Banks don't really like the Clarity Act. So far, it doesn't seem like they are a big fan. Banking group said the latest Clarity Act still risks pulling deposits away from local banks. And I mean, they're straight up about it. The risk here is that local banks are going to lose deposits because you're going to go deposit your money somewhere else. Why should we care that the banks get your money? Okay, you can take your money, give it to a bank. They're going to go use it to make more money. They're going to put it in markets. They're going to make money off of your money. Or you can go put it somewhere else, and they're going to make money off of your money. The difference here is in crypto, they generally give you a lot more money for your money. Banks traditionally give you 0.01% interest yearly, APY, which is nothing. You'll never notice it. You could hold $100,000 in the bank and you'd probably never notice when your dividend payment came into your bank account. There's high yield bank accounts and stuff. Most people don't have them. Only the wealthier people have them. And even the high yields, I think, are only like 2 to 3%, maybe 1%. Nothing amazing, right? And that's because the banks and the people who you're parking your money with, they're using your money to make, I don't know how much they're actually making, because in the traditional finance, interest on money yield is a lot lower than it is in crypto. But either way, they're taking a much larger percentage of it than, say, Coinbase is, right, for your USDC. Crypto advocates argue banks are trying to limit competition. Of course they are. They've owned these rails. They've owned this whole game. This is their game. They are the banker and you're playing Monopoly. And somebody is threatening to rewrite the board. While banks argue stablecoin rewards could weaken traditional lending. It's kind of like, yeah, that's a big deal if you own a bank. If you don't own a bank, probably not worried about traditional lending being weakened. Have you ever tried to get traditional finance to lend you money? Yeah, they suck. If you've ever had any credit cards or anything like this is one of the biggest pet peeves that I have with the whole traditional finance. You can pay 25, 28, 30, 32% interest, right, for years on a credit card. And of course, never miss a payment, and you can prove without a shadow of a doubt that you're capable of paying those payments because you've been paying like 30, 28, 25% for years. But they don't think you're qualified to take the same amount of money that you owe the credit cards, get a new loan through them, pay half of the interest, right, that you were paying before on the same amount of money, meaning you're paying less. So you're capable of paying double, if not more, in interest, and you can prove it for years, whatever they want, 3 years, 5 years, what doesn't matter, 10 years. And they're like, yeah, we can't lend you the money because we're not real sure you're going to be able to pay it. It's like, I've been paying it for 5, 6, 10 years. Like, how much history of payment do you need? And I see this all the time with people. I've been there. I know other people have been there. And it's just like, it makes no sense. It almost seems like traditional lending is hand in lockstep with your credit card companies. Why do I bring this up? Because of the practices that are in traditional lending and traditional finance are a big reason why I'm in crypto and why I'm not a fan of TradFi. It's no secret. I say it here all the time. Not a big fan of stocks, calls and puts and all of that stuff. I'm not a big fan of the manipulation that goes on there. I'm not a big fan of the fiat money system. I'm not a big fan of the way that they don't give you business loans and things like that. I could go on and on. There's tons of things, right? We don't even got to get into the specifics. I live in America. If you come from a foreign country, you most likely can get $100,000 loan to start a business. If you pay back, and I have some friends that actually run a bunch of things, right? If you pay back that $100,000 loan, especially within a certain period of time, you're from another part of the country, say India, Pakistan, somewhere, right? No discrimination. I have no problem with that. But then if they pay back like a $100,000 loan within like 5 years, first of all, they get a $100,000 loan, which is crazy because it's nothing. They would never give an actual American who pays all of that money that they're getting. They would never give us any of that money, right? We would never qualify to start a business specifically. But then if you pay back, then they'll give you like $500,000. If you pay that back in like 5 years, they'll give you $1 million, and so on and so forth. And these people are able to build incredible wealth coming to our country, which again, I have no problem with. I just would like an equal opportunity for, I don't know, the people who live here and put all the money in the system. And I won't go any farther with that, but there's a lot of reasons why I'm not a fan. I'd love to see crypto come in, take over, shake up all those bankers, and make things a little bit more equal across the board, right? Anyways, as you can see, my frustration with traditional finance. So routers broke down the 6 biggest parts of Senate crypto bill. Let's see what's going on in this chat. Yeah, the Lucas says it's criminal. Absolutely. It's nonsense for that matter. If you know anything about the way that banking is they don't have any of the money, right, that they're lending out. Like, legitimately, they don't have none of the money that they're lending out. And then on top of that, after, that world global event that happened, they are required to have none of the money that they're lending out. So all the money that they're lending out, they are making it up in the thin air. And I've speculated on this for a long time because we talk about inflation. Isn't inflation just bringing more money into the supply? And we always talk about the Federal Reserve. But banks make money out of thin air all day, every day. They just make money up. They don't have the money. If you don't believe what I'm saying, just go look, especially in America. It used to be like 10%, right? If you gave the bank $1,000, they could lend out $10,000 because they were required to have 10% of the money that they were lending out. So at any point, if they lent out $1 million, they were required to have $100,000, in the sheets, whether it was liquid or assets or whatever, it didn't matter. And then it became 1%, and then it was 0%. So they can literally just lend money. I know I got on this topic. I probably shouldn't have. I got myself fired up. I'm responsible for that. But, you're going to tell me that the bank can make money out of thin air, literally have 0% of any of the money that they're lending out, backing any of the money that they're lending out. So they're definitely creating inflation as far as I understand it. And I could not understand something. That's fine. And then they have the audacity to tell you that you don't have the credentials for a loan, for business, or for anything, right? Make it make sense. And what are their credentials if they don't have any of the money that they're lending out? They have none of it. And then they want to tell you that, Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme. Okay, the fiat system been a Ponzi scheme since the very beginning. Anyways, let's talk about what we got going on here. Actually, let's bounce back over here and see if Crypto Rank wants to work here. Let's see if we click on something. Wow, it's working now. Nice. CCP says, how do I make a ton of money? I don't exactly know how you make a ton of money. I hear my Discord going off. Yep. Oh, man. No, I didn't take P's because I am live streaming. It's one of the big obstacles in my trading on pump.fun. Give me 1 second. It looks like I probably need to take some profit on something. I probably got washed already. Where did it go? The way that they keep changing pump.fun is thoroughly getting on my nerves here. Wait, I'm so confused. Are we talking about COP? Sorry, guys. It's one of those things where you have open positions and things, too many of them and stuff, and then all of a sudden you're live streaming and you gotta actually do some things here. Yeah, I don't know. Small position. Wait, did COP bond? I'm so confused because what I'm looking at, COP never bonded. Melissa, sort me out here, Melissa. What are we talking about? I don't see anything. COP is fine. I mean, other than it's friggin' doing nothing. Just like everything is done today. It's annoying, wasting so much time watching them. And I know it's part of the game. It is what it is, but watching it all day, it's just nothing going on. Very annoying. All right, back to the show. I apologize. I thought I was missing something. It doesn't seem actually like anything is going on. I have another computer over here, so maybe I could just bring it up. All right. $248 million for Augustus, which is a U.S. dollar clearing bank. So they're a bank for U.S. dollar clearing and payment infrastructure for crypto. I'm sure, again, that this is being built for retail. Just kidding. I'm pretty sure it's being built for institutionals and hedge funds, institutions. We talked about this, if you remember, if you come to the show often and raise your crypto IQ with us. Institutions is a broad term. It can mean hedge funds, it can mean banks, it can mean a bunch of different things, but either way, it pretty much means big money. And I apologize, for some reason crypto rank is not working. I guess they didn't pay their hosting fees, or they didn't pay their bills or something. Not going well. Melissa says it didn't bond yet. Okay. They all come from, let's see, Canada, then the crossover in the U.S. Too easy here. Yeah, everybody gets hyper-focused on one border, and everybody's just walking across a different one, right? And I'll leave that where it is. Anyways, Routers broke down the 6 biggest parts of the Senate crypto bill. Not a very long article. Let's see what the 6 different parts of the bill are. The bill includes 6 major pieces: ethic restrictions, stablecoin reward rules, which means they want to limit. This is where the banks come into regulation, and they use their power to really mess things up, right? And I remember when they approached, well, I wasn't like a part of it, but I remember when the news came out that they were trying to tell Coinbase and other places, like, you can't give that much reward APY. Like, you can't give that much APY. And they didn't have a good reason for it. Their reason was because it makes us look bad. We've been giving people 0.01% for years, and you're going to tell these people, like, if they park their money with you, again, going back to the whole banks are not liking deposits, so pulling. Okay, let me back up. Banks don't like the Clarity Act. Risks, and it's not a risk, it's going to happen, pulling deposits away from local banks because of stablecoin rewards. Like, this is, you got to understand this stuff, guys. This is why crypto has been fought so hard from the very beginning. They just were never able to really do much about it. What did they put in the bill? Stablecoin reward rules. What rules do you think that they have? A limit to how much they can give you as a reward, so that too many people don't go running out of the banks. It's an interesting conundrum, right? Anti-money laundering requirements. Okay, nothing wrong with that. The SEC's fundraising exemption, right? So the SEC has exempted themselves. That's what that seems like. Big shocker there. Rules for thee, not for me, as they say. DeFi decentralization tests, and tokenization rules, right, around tokenization. It would also require digital commodity exchanges, brokers, and dealers to comply with Bank Secrecy Act. The Bank Secrecy Act would be a very interesting thing to study, but I don't really know how many people really care about stuff like that. So y'all gotta pipe up a little bit when it comes to some of this education. Tell me what you guys are actually interested in knowing about. Otherwise, I'll just have to deep dive that myself. A customer identification rules. So the clean read, or a summary here, is this is not just an exchange bill. It touches stablecoins, DeFi, token sales, tokenized security, and financial crime rules. Campsta in the house. What's up, Campsta? We appreciate you gracing us with your presence. How you doing? Just raising that crypto IQ like we always do, you know. Now we're reading the news. Crypto companies could raise money with less SEC burden. So one key part of the draft would let crypto companies raise up to $50 million per year and up to $200 million total without full SEC registration. Routers said this would limit the SEC's ability to argue that many token sales are illegal security offerings. This very much sounds like getting the SEC out of the way. This could be huge for token launches and early crypto fundraising if it survives. Right, if they leave this in the draft and it makes it to the final part. Let's see. What's up, Bipolar BTC? Yep, you got it. Pick a direction. Yeah, I know the feeling sometimes. Hey, all the trades and things that I've been in all day have been like pump 5%, down 6%, pump 8%, down 7%, like just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Sideways chop, I guess. Tokenized securities would still be treated like securities, whether they're tokenized or not. Circle may not be an automatic winner from the Clarity Act. This is interesting. If you kind of draw the dots, I mean, Circle Group on the NASDAQ. Well, I don't know if it's got to be NASDAQ, right? Well, either way, it's on the wall. It's on Wall Street, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's also a big conglomerate. They have long-reaching and extending ability to network and be in the know. And as they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So warn that if Clarity Act passes, it could increase institutional competition on stablecoins and hurt Circle over the long run. I don't know why we have to look out for Circle, right? It's kind of like the whole bank thing. It's like, oh, we got to look out for them. It's like, well, that's how you keep anything from ever evolving. If the guy who used to be in charge is always protected and never allowed to be changed, aka your banks and traditional finance, and the more they fight it, the more people are going to show they want something else, because the majority of people, they want something else. It's not serving them, it's serving themselves. Self-served interest, right? They specifically pointed to OpenUSD, a new stablecoin backed by more than 140 financial tech and crypto companies, including Visa, MasterCard, Stripe, BlackRock, and Coinbase. These companies here are coming for the overall market that Circle has had for a little bit here. Regulation may make stablecoins bigger, but it also make USDC less special. Who cares? I mean, unless your like uncle owns a big share in it, or your family is the owner of the majority of USD, like, why would you care? You know, we want the big conglomerates to be broken up. And remember that competition in a open market, that's a conversation we'll save for another day, but competition is good for the consumers. It's good for the people using it. Less competition is only going to serve the companies, right? It's only going to serve the company to not have to offer many rewards or whatever. They don't have to give much to their customers. They can just continue to make money hand over fist. OpenUSD's model could pressure Circle's revenue. We just covered that. Let's not be too repetitive. SEC settled with Coinbase over Gensler era record request. Remember they told, oh, this is Coinbase. I don't know why my mind went straight to XRP. It was crazy that Gensler tried to ask XRP to hand over $1 billion. Like, jeez, it's crazy. Tropical Astronaut, that's a new name. I hope you smashed that like button. Thank you for coming through. He says, all-time chart for ETH paints a pretty clear picture. I think the odds of ETH going on some parabolic $25,000 run is going to cause many people massive opportunity loss. Let's make sure I understand what you're saying here. I think the odds of ETH going on some parabolic $25,000 run could cause many people massive opportunity lost. So are you saying that that you think that it's going to do that, or are you just saying the speculation that it could do that is going to cause people to move in weird directions? That's what I'm getting from that. The way you worded that, I'm not 100% sure where you're going. Hester Price warned DeFi vaults may fall under security laws, right? Everybody trying to get a piece of the regulation. We did like a whole series on regulation, who writes the rules in crypto. I thought it was highly enlightening personally, and I learned a lot. I love that I come to the show, I hang out with my people, my undergrounders, and then I also get a lot out of the show and learn a lot, right? Like I always say, it's not about me sitting up here being the smartest guy in the room, everybody listen to me. We are growing and learning together, I'm just the one who's kind of leading the charge, right? So you guys give me some direction on what you like, what you don't like, what you want to learn about, what you don't want to learn about, what's not interesting to you, and we'll gauge the community sentiment, if you will. And we're still on the news. The deeper we get in these, usually the better the stories get, right? Morpho sold off after the SEC vault warning. So this is interesting because I believe it's Morpho that Coinbase just integrated, right? So Morpho fell more than 5% after the story we just read, right? Warned about it being security. Vault warning here. So CoinDesk said curated vaults now hold about 8.6 billion across 788 vaults and have reached 1.4 million users, making the banks very upset. With Coinbase and Robinhood integration, vault-style products for stablecoin yield. Institution DeFi yield is growing, but regulators are watching and trying to figure out how they can protect their own interest, right? Tokenized equities, perpetuals are exploding. BlackRock reported that monthly volume for tokenized real-world asset perps jumped from $85 billion to $470 billion, up 450%, increase in 6 months, right? So that was over 6 months. There we go. SpaceX was the biggest tokenized equity perp in June. SpaceX being offered to people through tokenized assets kind of really woke a few people up, because even people who were into traditional finance, they weren't paying a lot of attention to anything crypto, right? They're very TradFi people. They wanted a piece of SpaceX and they couldn't get it, right? Quick enough, fast enough. And so a lot of them with some decent money definitely bought the tokenized version, and that just gives them an introduction, right? They had to make an account somewhere they didn't use before, and then now they hold asset over there, so they're watching it, they're going on the app, they're seeing everything else, and they're going, what is all this other stuff? It's a good thing for crypto in the moment. Will it be in the long run is kind of what we're kind of waiting to see. Kraken's parent is expanding tokenized stocks globally, right? Payward is the parent company, right? Was what we would call it in a market structure for Kraken. It's expanding its X stocks platform beyond U.S. equities to include Hong Kong listed stocks, UK, Europe, South Korea equities expand. Okay, so this is where it gets really cool, because there's a lot of people speculating even on a lot of the, I'm gonna get to you, Tropical Astronaut. Give me 1 second. I see that you did comment back, and I don't want to make you wait too long. But there's a couple of companies, okay, let me put it this way, South Korean companies in their stock market that are heavily speculated on. It's hard to get access to them. With tokenized stocks globally, not only is the rest of the world going to have easier access to our markets, we'll have easier access to their markets, and the liquidity will flow through the markets globally, making a more global market is a way, way, way bigger deal than, especially if you're here in America, it's a bigger deal than most people realize. All right, what does he say? Like button smashed. Appreciate you. And I would love to see you here again. Sounds like you're definitely our kind of audience. But I meant people are going to buy and hold ETH, looking at 25,000 as a realistic target. Yeah, absolutely they are. And just keep round tripping cycles, or watch BTC go to 5 mil a coin without any BTC, right? Yeah, I get what you're saying. So people being bullish on Ethereum going up and having a nice price appreciation because we saw Bitcoin and it's the second biggest in this market. So you really think it's going to go up, and what if it doesn't? And people keep kind of holding Ethereum hoping it's going to go up, and they never buy any Bitcoin, I believe is your point. And it's a fact. That is going to happen. Now, is Ethereum never going to appreciate? I don't know. They're supposed to have better tokenomics now. I can't remember what it is. I think it's like 0.04 deflationary. It's like the way that they did it, it's now just slightly deflationary, which it might as well just be neutral, right? Unless it's 4%, then that changes a lot. But I think it's 0.04. But either way, ETH is supposed to be slightly deflationary, and Bitcoin is digital gold. I get Bitcoin completely. But Ethereum has a lot of value as far as an active network people build on, the most devs. You know, there's a lot of good use cases and reasons for a value appreciation for Ethereum. Why haven't we seen it yet becomes the question. And then I don't know if you know this, subbed. I appreciate you. We go live 8:30 p.m. New York time, Monday through Saturday. Saturday's 10 p.m., but you'll figure that out if you come. Come learn with us. Come raise your crypto IQ. And of course, I got to tell you that there is a link that I'm sure I pinned. I don't know why I don't see it. There's a pinned link in the chat to our free Discord, and I'm just going to make sure that it's there. Yeah, I definitely pinned this at the beginning of the stream. I'm not sure why it's not there, but I'll pin it again. Let me know if the link doesn't work for you for some reason or something like that, but I'd love to see you over in our Discord, being a part of this community and hanging out. Okay, it is pinned. I don't know why I don't see it, though. Very strange. I don't mean to get off topic, but does anybody see the pinned message for our Discord? I don't see it. But it is just recently in chat right here. Just a couple up. Anyways, said I love ETH and everything it does. I just don't trust ETH to be the coin that yields and gains it should. You're talking about appreciation over time. I don't trust it to be the coin that yields the gains it should. Yeah. Yep. Yes, I found the pinned Discord. Awesome. I'd love to see you over there. That's where you get access to, you know, me and the community when we're not streaming, ask questions, all of that good stuff. People DM me all the time. I don't give financial advice, of course, but we could talk about many things related to crypto, that's for sure. And I'm with you on that. I just want to take a minute to focus on what you're saying, because you came in here and you dropped a comment. Here's the question I feel like. This is a good way to put it. Because of what we've seen in the last cycle, is that the new norm for Ethereum and its appreciation? Ethereum should have set a new, I don't want to misspeak, but I'm pretty sure they never really set a new time high. But we very much didn't see much for altcoins anyways, right? A lot of your altcoins that are not as low on the totem pole are Ethereum altcoins, and in order to get those altcoins, you buy Ethereum most of the way to get access. Now you have Base and different stuff. The landscape has changed a lot, but my point is that I could still see Ethereum appreciating, but it's got a problem. But a lot has changed for Ethereum at the same time, so I'm very much with you. I don't trust it, but it could happen. And I can put together some reasons why it could happen. Number one being you saw members leave Ethereum Foundation. They started a new foundation called like Ethereum Institutional Foundation. And that is specifically geared towards getting in front of like the only thing that foundation is for is to get in front of institutional investors and tell them buy Ethereum. That's the whole point of it. And you saw key players leave the Ethereum Foundation and start that new foundation. What was really weird about it was they kept putting the news stories as this happened, like Ethereum's having these big problems and, you know, major players in the Ethereum Foundation are leaving because there's problems. But then they went and they started a foundation where they advocate on a institutional level for Ethereum. That seems to very much benefit the Ethereum Foundation. That doesn't seem like they're in competition. Doesn't seem like they got let go. Doesn't seem like those people were mad at Ethereum in their foundation and the way it worked. It doesn't seem, they literally went to go advocate for them and get in front of institutions. I'm just saying that in case you missed those stories. They were weird the way that they tried to brand them, right? And they didn't really do any interviews with the people and give us any kind of anything to go on, at least that I saw. But my point is that I do believe Ethereum could have some price evaluation, but is it going to go crazy and go to 25,000? I don't know about that. You might see something like a 6, 7, maybe 8,000 if we have a really good run. But I am, overall, to simplify what I'm saying, I agree, definitely tempering my expectations when it comes to Ethereum. I own a tiny bit of Ethereum, right? Let's see. BTC topped on apathy. No rotation in alts, right? ETH and everyone else never got the rotation everyone expected. Yes, I know you. I don't think you've been here a lot, Tropical Astronaut, but I've talked about this a lot. There are some key things that I'm thinking, though. Have you ever really thought about this, Tropical Astronaut? Have you thought about how this bull run was the first bull run that we've ever had in, say, quantitative tightening conditions, right? And every other bull run that we've ever had was in quantitative easing, where money is cheap, interest rates are low, people could borrow money and put it in the market. There's just a lot of upside for money flowing and being liquid in the market in a quantitative easing environment. The feds, the chair, the basis rates, the cuts, the raises, you know what I'm saying? All of that stuff, quantitative easing. This was the first, to my knowledge, and from what I've studied, this is the first bull run that we had in quantitative tightening, which is the complete opposite of quantitative easing, right? Some people will tell you they've been printing money the whole time, none of it matters. In the market, I would say it matters. It seemed to make a really big difference because when you have cheap money, you have a desire to park it places and make big returns. When you have hard to get money, you take safer bets. You don't go as speculative, and that's what we saw. And I think that is one of the main reasons why we didn't have an altcoin season blow off top. It was like technically at the end of 2024, when historically 4-year cycle, that should have been the start, not the end, the start of it. Did we start an altcoin season in 2024 that should have ran all the way through 2025, or had its ups and downs, but had a blow off top at the end? And then were there players who kept it down? We talk a lot of, there's a lot of things around it, right? Like there's the institutions coming into the game. There's so many things I could talk about here. I actually love this topic. Tropical Astronaut, I want to read your text, but let me say one other thing. So the Great Depression, and we were talking about the Bank Secrecy Act, okay? This kind of correlates here. The Great Depression was pretty much the banks were allowed to make market, right? It's a term you may be familiar of if you studied this even a little bit. You don't have to be a brainiac or somebody who's Harvard educated or whatever to understand this. They were able to make their own markets, and they still make markets today. The difference is back then they used to be allowed to profit, make money off of the markets that they created, leading them to highly predatory activity, very predatory activity. And that pretty much alone is attributed to creating the Great Depression, which you always hear about, but nobody really ever talks about as far as explaining what the heck happened. Then after that, they decided to limit banks and say, hey, banks, you guys can make markets, right? But you can't profit from them. Like, you can make markets, but you can't profit from those markets. And this is specifically for most banks, right? There is an exception to this, and I don't want to go too deep into it. That's for another time. But by majority, they can't make markets and profit. So with the legislation and things coming down the line here, altcoins are going to be on the table for banks and institutions to make markets and profit, which they haven't been allowed to do since like the Great Depression, and might have been the reason why we had a Great Depression. A lot of people speculate. I've studied it a good bit, but I'm not going to consider myself all-knowing on the topic. But my point is, are we just creating the next big bubble to issue in a much bigger digital Great Depression way down the line, My point was, are the banks and institutions purposely damage the altcoin season so they could accumulate, because they're long-term players, they'll accumulate for years at bottom prices and stuff as they move money around and bring money in, and then they'll let it go, they'll let that thing just pump. We'll have a wild altcoin seasons, and everybody will be so excited and happy when the banks are in, when the regulation is passed, when they're allowed to have predatory access to markets and make markets their own way and profit highly from them, then they're going to let everybody do it. But they didn't want to let these things go prior to them being able You get what I'm saying? So there's a high chance that they did not allow an altcoin season to happen because they didn't have the regulatory go ahead to do what they want to do, and they weren't going to let it run off without them. When they could just buy it and dump it and buy it and dump it and buy it and dump it, crush sentiment and keep everybody waiting until they're ready to own and run those markets. These are my opinions. These are my thoughts. I'm not, saying that's 100% what was going on, but if you've studied at all, raise that crypto IQ. Welcome to the channel. Smash that like button. Now I want to read your thing. I did get a little long-winded there, so hopefully you're still here, right? Massively agree. Retail is broken and money is tight everywhere. Plus, everyone got cooked in the FTX crash, exactly, and never came back. Absolutely. It's hard to come back when you lost all your money. I'm definitely not too hard on the people. A lot of times you hear it in crypto, like, oh, dumb money, retail, they never come back. It's usually because they lost all their money. They don't have any money to come back with. Not saying that you were saying that. That's just one of my thoughts there. I hear a lot. Lots working against last cycle. You are right. Exactly. And it could be setting you up to have an amazing altcoin season that maybe a lot of people won't be watching. They won't be trying to take attention to it until it starts pumping, right? Because that's when retail comes in anyways. But what is going to happen between last altcoin season and the next altcoin season? Regulation, Clarity Act, Genius Act, clarifying regulator green light for banks and institutions to make markets and profit from them, which they were not allowed to do since the Great Depression. Just to recap all of that and make it simple. I'm going to say let's raise our crypto IQ now. Talk about Ethereum. But that's what we were just doing. I love doing these shows. I love the topics that we get into. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So let's get to the main talking points of the night. And it's about Ethereum. So Tropical Astronaut will be pleased because he said he loves Ethereum at the end of the day. Rising with Bitcoin is not the same as leading Bitcoin or the market, right? And we're talking, the whole series of the week is about, can Ethereum lead? Well, the whole series is literally about like understanding when we actually change trend and when there's just like basically a small rally that hasn't really signaled a larger turnaround, like bottom of the bear market difference between a dead cat bounce. That's what we're talking about. Can we use metrics and things to look at to tell the difference, like ETF flows, to tell the difference between a dead cat bounce, a small rally, versus a complete bottom of the market trend change? We're up from here. You guys get it, right? And now we're talking about Ethereum maybe leading the way. And how would we know? How would we know if Ethereum is leading the way against Bitcoin, and why would it matter? Well, it would matter because if Ethereum starts leading the way and actually outpacing Bitcoin, then money is going to flow into altcoins. That's the rotation. Again, just to not, I hate being repetitive, but I want to make sure everybody gets it. Last cycle, Bitcoin would pump, money would flow, some money would start to flow into Ethereum, and then Bitcoin would dump, and therefore the money would never finish the rotation and go into altcoins. That's why you didn't get an altcoin season. Ethereum can gain 5% while Bitcoin gains 8% in dollar terms. This is against the US dollar. ETH rose, but relative to Bitcoin, it became weaker. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, just stick around. This stuff will rub off on you, I promise. Leadership means Ethereum produces stronger returns than Bitcoin over a meaningful period. That's what we mean by leadership. Again, that Ethereum produces stronger returns than Bitcoin over a meaningful period of time. 2 weeks, a month, 6 months. What is a meaningful period of time is highly speculative, right? That is why we watch two charts. That is Ethereum against USD, which is a chart you would be familiar with, the value of Ethereum in US dollars, or a chart you're probably not as familiar with, and that is Ethereum against BTC, and that is Ethereum gaining purchasing power over Bitcoin. Or demand. You could say demand or emotional speculation. All of them would be right. For Ethereum to lead, both should generally improve together. The ETH BTC ratio is the leadership chart. It's an important chart that a lot of people don't look at, because a lot of people don't even really look at charts, to be honest with you. They go consult some guy on Twitter. You know, what is he posting about today? That's what I'm going to buy. They don't actually look at charts and data and information. The ETH BTC ratio tells us how much Bitcoin 1 ETH can purchase, right? Again, the ETH BTC chart ratio tells us how much Bitcoin 1 Ethereum could purchase. So if you had 1 Ethereum right now, how much Bitcoin could you get for it? A rising ratio means Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, meaning you're able to buy more Bitcoin with 1 Ethereum. Another way to say this is Ethereum's price is going up and Bitcoin's price is rather staying relatively the same or dropping in value. That's what would make it possible to buy more Ethereum, more Bitcoin with Ethereum. I apologize, get really turned around. I hope I'm keeping it straight for you. A falling ratio means Bitcoin is outperforming Ethereum. So if the chart is going down, it means Ethereum is being outperformed by Bitcoin, which is pretty much what you would have saw the entire last cycle for the most part. The flat ratio means neither is establishing a clear leadership. They're basically going sideways, as we would say. The ratio is currently right now near 0.029. Now that's not going to mean much to you. BTC per ETH. So Ethereum can buy you 0.029 Bitcoin. If you're able to think in terms of something else, it can be hard. You use, somewhere where you got to think in terms of a different project's money, like Solana or Bitcoin. It can get really hard in your mind to convert if you're not used to it. Has increased about approximately 9% over the past month. This is noticeable improvement, especially after reaching approximately 0.027 in June. However, the ratio has not moved far enough to prove any kind of major long-term reversal. Again, this whole series is about, are we getting a strong, real reversal? How would we know? Ethereum is challenging Bitcoin more effectively than before, but has not decisively taken leadership or charge of the altcoin crypto market. Ethereum ETF demand is improving. We talked a lot about this yesterday, right? Ethereum ETF recently ended a long stretch of weak demand and probably a lot of outflows, but now recorded several positive sessions. The results included, 17th, you skipped the weekend because TradFi is going on a break during the weekend. They're not open. They're not like crypto markets, right? But these are your inflows for basically the last 3 meaningful sessions, they call. Think of it like business days, because that's exactly what it is. And so here's what's flown in for Ethereum: 36 mil, 38 mil, 37 mil. Pretty consistent, but that's only for like 3 days. Now, BlackRock's ETHA has been the primary source of those recent demands. What we're saying here is it's not the entire market all rushing in. It's a lot of just one participant buying. This supports the recovery, but we still need to ask several questions here. Positive weeks, that's what we need. Several positive weeks to really signal a true turnaround. Participation from more than one fund would be great and meaningful, right? Inflows that remain positive during Ethereum pullbacks, meaning Ethereum pulls back in price, probably the rest of the market as well. Not huge dips, but pullbacks, right? And inflows remain unfazed into the ETFs. Demand large enough to offset the withdrawals. Improvement is real. Full confirmation is still developing yet. That's the real takeaway here. Network activity and ETH price can separate. How much activity is going on in Ethereum and how much the ETH price, it can separate. And I know there's a lot of information. We've been getting deep. We've been getting real saucy when it comes to raising our crypto IQ. I've been kind of pouring it on a little bit thick. Why? Well, we are hopefully very much close to the bottom of a bear market. Now, if you're trying to make $1 million in the next 2 weeks, it's not close for you. But for us who think long term, specifically me in this application, it's pretty close to hopefully being a bottom of the market, right? You never know until after, right? hindsight is 2020. After you get months and months past what is eventually the bottom of the market, you can put your finger on a chart and say that was the bottom of that market on like a daily chart, 8-hour chart, something like that. But until you get past it significantly and have upflows or downflows, you can't say, hey, the trend did change here. You're just hoping it's going to change at a certain period of time, especially with the 4-year cycle. Let's break up this learning just for a second here. Let's go over here. Let's check out our top gainers, top losers of the day. Shout out Blockworks. Just a great place for data. Since I'm talking so much about data, this is a great place to look at all kinds of different things. Here's lending stablecoin interest rates. Here's total blockchain revenue. Here's crypto ETF flows. Just good data sets that can be meaningful, highly depending on what it is you care about in this market. Top gainers, Kite, which is now Kite Sync, which is weird because they never had that in it before, but this is Kite nonetheless. We watched this thing roll out its token. We looked at it before it ever had a token. We've been on top of it, but they've kind of done a little bit of rebranding, which I don't love when projects do that. 6.7% to the upside. If your biggest gainer of the day is 6.7 and your biggest loser is 28, so it's not significant, these gainers. The loser actually is, but that's because DXE is dropping hard, and Build On, I don't know what's going on with Build On. Build On is specifically all about building in the World Liberty Finance ecosystem USD1 stablecoin. So they're building in World Liberty Finance. So I guess right under it, when you see World Liberty Finance, I guess it's not too crazy to put those together and say there's some trouble in paradise over in that ecosystem, right? Why exactly it is, I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, let's get back to this or we'll never get through it. And also, I love this information. So again, I show up to educate myself very much as I do to educate anybody else or hang out with anybody else. Network activity and ETH price can be separate, right? So you have the activity on the network and the price maybe not correlate. You can have a lot of demand for the actual ecosystem of Ethereum. Many things want to build applications on it and then still not have the price pump, which I think was a point that Tropical Astronaut was very much trying to make here. Ethereum network activity reached very high levels earlier this year. Daily activity addresses approach 2 million, while smart contract calls exceed 40 million a day. I wonder how much they incorporate things like Base and all the layer 2s into that, right? Yet ETH's price and Ethereum's base layer fee generation failed to rise alongside that activity. The layer 2 structure of Ethereum is probably the culprit there, right? Because with a bunch of transactions would come a bunch of fees and fee generation for Ethereum. But when you have layer 2s, which are roll-ups, and they roll up tons of transactions into one transaction, then there's only one fee paid on Ethereum's base layer, where there would before have been hundreds, if not thousands, of fees paid. So that makes a big difference in how much money you're generating. But man, Ethereum needed it. And that's why we have it, right? This teaches us usage is important, but the location and economic quality of that usage also matters a lot. A network can process millions of automated interactions that create little demand for its native asset. Ethereum must convert activity into ETH demand. ETH has several sources of potential demand, from gas payments to staking, DeFi collateral, liquidity pairs, ETF ownership, treasury holdings, settlement for tokenized assets, and reserve collateral across layer 2 networks, and don't forget restaking. The strongest leadership case occurs when several of those or these demands sources expand simultaneously. So when the demand in multiple niches or facets increase, well, then the leadership of the asset ETH would increase alongside of it. If applications grow but users hold very little Ethereum, The network can still succeed while the asset underperforms. I bought some Ethereum today to do some things in the base ecosystem and other ecosystems, right? When was the last time you bought some Ethereum to do anything, right? That is a good thought. Stablecoins and tokenization are Ethereum's strongest fundamental case. Ethereum remains deeply connected to stablecoins, DeFi, tokenized treasury products, that's a big one since those are going crazy right now, on-chain funds, institutional settlement, and layer 2 networks. Tokenized treasury products, I didn't really stop to think about that as much, but it has grown 450% in the last 6 months, as we just went over, if you remember. That could be a big deal for the ones that are tokenized through Ethereum if they, for any reason, require Ethereum to be used as a network because gas fees. I don't know why they wouldn't go to layer 2 networks, but even using layer 2 networks eventually, even if they're wrapped up hundreds if not thousands of transactions, still eventually does generate a transaction on the base network. Now, these markets matter because they produce reoccurring financial activity rather than depending entirely on speculation. Sorry, just checking something over here. Ethereum faces competition from Solana, Tron, so don't forget that Ethereum's not the only player out here. Solana, Tron, and other networks. It also faces internal competition from its own layer 2 ecosystem for fees and users' attention. So the question is, does it matter that it kind of has competition inside of its own ecosystem? Where is that going to take us in the future? It's really interesting. I'm very happy about using Base, very happy to use even Polygon when it first came out and not have to pay the crazy fees in Ethereum's ecosystem. But it does have an effect on Ethereum's base layer. Ethereum must remain the preferred settlement and security layer while proving that ecosystem growth produces value for Ethereum. Low fees can be both good and bad, and this is what I was saying. I love the fact that we have layer 2s and lower fees, but it might be a big reason, shout out to Tropical Astronaut, it might be a big reason why Ethereum is not appreciating in price, because you don't have all that money revenue. Here's another thought though. No, that wouldn't work because this is blockchain, not a treasury. I was going to say even if the money flows to Ethereum, it might not equal market cap, but that's with a business. Like when you have a crypto project and they have a coin that has a market cap, I'm just explaining where I was going to go with that, but this technically wouldn't work here. But you have a project, they have a coin with a market cap, but they also have a bank account and a treasury, and say they provide a service, right? Well, when they provide a service, they get paid, but they don't get paid in the market cap of the coin that's associated with the project. They get paid directly to their bank account, and therefore that money never goes through. In true decentralized land ecosystem, actual Ethereum, they would have to use Ethereum, buy in and out of it, and that would help the market cap, right? Even if it's for a short period of time. Sugarheart says 111. Sugarheart, just letting you know you still haven't messaged me for your free $10 that you won. Low fees can be both good and bad, right? Lower Ethereum fees are beneficial for users. They can also reduce the amount of ETH burned through Ethereum's fee mechanisms. This creates two possible interpretations. A bullish interpretation, right, that lower costs attract more users, application, and settlement activity. So a bullish interpretation of this is that it frees up the usability of the network and makes it very attractive for value to flow into the ecosystem. Maybe not the market cap of Ethereum directly. Over time, yes, but in the short period, it just a lot of value is brought to Ethereum, making Ethereum the king, as it still is for anybody who forgot. People get so bearish on Ethereum, they forget like Ethereum still pretty much has everything as far as developers and institutional money in actual applications and projects being built. Ethereum is chosen most of the time, even if you see Base or Arbitrum or Polygon or any of the other ones, Monad, like any of the other ecosystems. When we did that show, Mega ETH, kind of versus Monad and broke down what they were trying to do, but they were coming from two different angles. That was a really good show. I hope you remember that. And if you don't, hey, you guys can go back and rewatch those shows. I'm just saying. Cautious interpretation. If fees fall faster than usage growth, less economic value returns to ETH holders. So this is a bullish interpretation and a more cautious interpretation. If the fees fall faster than the usage growth, less economic value returns to the actual people who hold Ethereum's underlying asset, the native asset. The best outcome is affordable usage combined with enough total activity to create substantial aggregated demand. Ethereum's leadership could unlock broader altcoin rotation. Again, we're talking about leadership in the market, not like the people in charge of the Ethereum Foundation. I hope you guys are locked in like I am. I'm loving this. Bitcoin is usually the market's defensive crypto asset. Think about that. Ethereum generally carries more technological and application risks. Have you ever thought about this as, instead of them always being competing and it always be competition, think about the market as a whole, the asset class, blockchain, or cryptocurrency as a whole. Bitcoin stands out in the front, right? Takes all the arrows, if you will, from everybody trying to take a shot at cryptocurrency. Ethereum generally carries more of the technological and application risk because everything is built over there. Not a lot of things, if anything, are really built over on Bitcoin, although they're trying all the time to make that happen. When investors move from Bitcoin to Ethereum, it may indicate growing risk tolerance, meaning they're willing to be more risky. This is what we were saying. When money is tight, it's not easy to get. The money you borrow has high interest rates. It's not flowing to anybody. You're getting denied for loans. Well, then the money is not going to have as much of a risk tolerance. The people behind the money aren't going to have as much risk tolerance, and therefore it doesn't flow from Bitcoin to Ethereum. To kind of reverse this thought and show you how it works in a reverse order here. If the rotation continues, and now to put it back the other way, investors move from Bitcoin to Ethereum, that indicates growing risk tolerance. If that rotation continues, capital may later reach other things like major layer 1 networks, DeFi, basically all your altcoins and altcoin infrastructure, and that would include AI-related crypto, gaming, smaller speculative assets, aka altcoin season. The buzzword that we all wish would happen, because that's where a lot of the small fries in this market make any money. Ethereum often acts as the bridge between a Bitcoin rally and a broader altcoin market. It is the bridge for sure for liquidity to flow into altcoins. But if ETH cannot outperform Bitcoin, a sustained altcoin expansion becomes harder to confirm. What would confirm Ethereum's dominance? You could replace this word leadership with dominance in the market. Look for multiple signals. ETH USD establishing higher highs. ETH BTC rising consistently, not only for 1 week. Ethereum ETF inflows continue for several weeks, even if we're pulling back in price. Buying spreads beyond the dominant ETF. Network activity produces stronger fees for Ethereum demand, right? Ethereum holds strength during Bitcoin's pullbacks. Major altcoins begin participating without excessive leverage, right? Meaning that there's actually money flowing into altcoins and it's not just a bunch of, propped up high leverage positions. No individual sign is enough. Leadership should appear across price, capital flows, and fundamentals. What would invalidate the leadership or dominance attempt? So we just gave you what you should look for dominance in Ethereum. Now, what should you look for there not being dominance in Ethereum? ETH BTC falls back towards or below its June lows. Ethereum repeatedly fails near 2,000. Like, we keep getting up to about $2,000 for Ethereum, and it keeps pulling back every time. So that's a good, easy one to watch, right? Because I tell you the price of Ethereum every day show. If you did nothing else but come to this show 6 days a week, you'd be able to kind of judge easily if we quickly go above 2,000 for Ethereum, or if we get close to it and pull back, over and over. That would be a warning sign that dominance in Ethereum is not happening. ETF flows reverse into sustained withdrawals. Network activity remains high while value capture weakens. Bitcoin dominance continues to climb. Competition network captures more users, liquidity and fees. Competing networks, right? Not Ethereum, but other stuff. The rally depends primarily on leverage speculation. So if everything is all leverage positions, that can hurt everything, right? So Thursday's verdict here. It is not Thursday, it's Wednesday. All right. Ethereum is becoming more credible challenger, right? But has not yet become the confirmed market leader. And as the positive unresolved, that's just really repetitive. We're not going to do that all over again. I think you guys get the point. It was saucy. It was deep. Hopefully you guys could handle all of that information flowing into your brains. And what do? Well, we generally take all that information and all of that learning, and we just kind of take the edge off by doing a little bit of DeFi gaming. And that is why DeFi gaming really works so well with this channel, in my opinion, is because a lot of that could have been heavy. And if that's all we did, what do I leave you with? I don't really leave you with any bit of the decompression. You know, we got to decompress after that. I know I learned a lot, and that's a huge benefit. It's why I keep showing up. It's why I'm passionate about doing this show. And you don't got to worry about me burning out, is because I'm not just here to shill like a bunch of education so I can sell you a course. I don't even have a course to sell you, at least as of right now. I could at some point put a course together, but it's not high on my priority because this channel is not really about me shilling you a product or whatever. Will I ever have affiliate links and sell you stuff? Maybe, but that's not really what this is all about. This channel is very much genuinely born out of my love for educating myself in the crypto space. The kicker here is that the more I actually want to do this full time, make videos, maybe do a news live stream, like the more I actually want to do this, the more revenue is actually required to take me away from the other multiple businesses that I have. So with that being said, don't sleep on that like button, subscribe button, and hanging out in the Discord, right? But the membership for the channel shows your support, shows that you value all the time and energy I put from setting up the stream to the 2 hours that we do in the members only show for an hour, 30 minutes, hour and a half, whatever it is afterwards. So don't sleep on that membership. It's $3. I make it highly affordable. And don't sleep on throwing a super chat out there sometimes. We do have super chat capabilities. You never know how much time and energy goes into just literally getting the ability to do super chats. And we're claiming our rewards over here on Chainers. Let's go to the Atomcaster, get our free items so we can keep upgrading. Let's see. Well, as soon as we get this, let's see how much BNB we're at. Have we made it to 0.005 yet? Nope, 0.0046. So we still got a while to go. Trying to get to 0.1 BNB, right? Melissa says, hey guys, you want to join a secret society? Then become part of our community. Subscribe to the channel for less than $3. Free Discord. YouTube channel filled with crypto from the underground. Absolutely. And again, we teach all of these things. If you're somebody who really loves education, you find our channel, go check out all the other streams that we did. The way that this works, doing crypto education, all of those are basically the course. If you're somebody who finds and you're like, hey, I really want to do some kind of crypto course or something like that, I'm in the market for it, I would pay for it, well, I'd give it away free. And you can easily go to my streams and skip forward to the education part. It's usually about an hour into the stream, especially for a really long time if you're on, older videos from 2, 3, 4 months ago. Recently, I've been pulling it more to the center of the stream because if you are interested in that crypto education, that's why we do the intro the way that we do now. I don't want to bury it. I don't want you to come to the stream and we're live, right? Like it's not later. You can't fast forward. And you're like, I want to learn about crypto, but you guys are just talking about what's trending right now. So I try to mix it and weave it all together just like anything that's worth anything, it takes time to build what works. So you'll see me change things, move segments up, get rid of segments, put new segments in. Of course, I have some really cool things that I want to bring in, and I was really making some progress on them, and other things in life have certainly kind of distracted me. I got a lot going on. And, here's another announcement. If you're still here, then you're a true undergrounder, and so this would matter to you. I am not going to be able to do the stream. I would love, and, it's funny because I know the lifer in real life. I highly, highly respect him and everything that he's built and done in his life. His 5 years of streaming directly, and it's easy to feel like guilty for the fact that I don't stream every single day. I'm not there yet as far as being able to, financially support myself off YouTube. But also, I feel really bad not being able to stream for 3, 4, 5 days even. It's nice that it's in the bottom of the bear market. Like, it would really suck to do that during, like, a bull market. And I could over-explain myself, and I don't mind at all. It doesn't matter to me. But, a big reason I'm not doing that is because it would require me to take a lot of equipment. I don't have the space. And I don't necessarily have the available free funds to replace equipment if anything happens to that equipment while I'm traveling. Then I get back and I don't have the equipment that I need. Already looking at having to buy, a new computer. It's going to cost me like $1,500 to get what I really need, so I don't have to buy another one in 2-3 years. And that's life. I know all of you guys very much understand that, because here at this channel, I'm not somebody who just got mega super rich on YouTube or in crypto, whatever it is. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It just hasn't happened for me yet. And I don't have the ability to, just make a lot of content and stuff every day. I forget exactly where I was going with that. My point was, I'm here in the market trying to make it with you. I very much genuinely believe that becoming a better speculator in any market or doing anything is highly related to how much you know about the category, the niche, the sector that you're in. Just to make it really broad and kind of apply it to literally anything. But in crypto in general, I believe that raising your crypto IQ, kind of a term that I've coined, is directly related to your ability to look at the market and know how to make moves. And I'll kind of end it there. Strega Heart says it's been a good stream. Again, when people say they like the stream, you throw a super chat and stuff, it lets me know I'm in the right direction. And it means the world to me, not because of the money, but because what I set out to do, I'm doing, right? I'm raising people's crypto IQ. They're finding the stream interesting like I do, right? It's nice when people enjoy things that you also enjoy, which educating myself on anything I highly enjoy, but especially cryptocurrency. And just to remind people, there's once in a lifetime opportunities, but it's only once in a very blue moon every, I don't know, a couple hundred years to maybe 1,000 years that the financial rails for money actually change, that there's enough technological innovation to really change the entire rails of money, like globally. And that's what you're watching. And then bigger than that, this kind of technological change is bigger than any of the ones that we've had so far. And who knows when we're going to have another one. So for me, cryptocurrency is not just about a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build money and wealth. It's also about the potential it could be a once-in-a-species opportunity for life, moving forward. For me, for generations after me, you put things in trust. How much Bitcoin you own 400 years from now could be the difference between, I don't want to go all dystopian on anybody, but it could be a legit difference between where you sit in the world, depending on if your family has any Bitcoin, if you have any Bitcoin. At that point, it'll all be out. You probably won't be able to get any Bitcoin. It'll probably be extremely expensive. It'd be like buying a house right now. In cash, not with a mortgage or anything, just like straight up in cash. At some point back in the day, you might have been able to do something like that when houses were, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. But nowadays, they're all like $350,000, $400,000 or more. not many people are buying them in straight cash, if you get my point. And I have really, like I said, if I zone off and play this game, we'll be at like 20,000 in literally no time. Have been having a ton of fun hanging out and learning about Pump.Fun, making a little bit of money over there. I've been having a blast with that. So shout out to my undergrounders who have been a part of that. If you like that kind of stuff, let me know. Maybe we'll integrate some content as I learn more about it. I'm starting to get a little bit of the hang of it, but you know, you don't do 4 days or 5 days of something, a week of something, 2 weeks something, and then start thinking that you're a pro who knows everything, because you haven't seen all the variations of the market, right? All right, we're going to let him take us out here because I could literally play and probably not die forever. Oh, this guy who's this is mostly just for me and Melissa and Prime Minister. I don't think Prime Minister came to the stream today, but that it's like the Jimothy. They combine Pippin with Jimothy, right? You'll probably see it at some point if it keeps making it big. He's back live again. I can't figure out what the heck he's doing. Does it matter? Not necessarily, but it's just super weird. It's like he goes live and he's like, "What's up, everybody? You know, we're gonna pump this. I'm not going anywhere." And then all of a sudden he's like, just ends his live stream, and it's like, what are you doing, dude? And then if you comment anything in the comms on Twitter, he deletes it. I'm assuming it's him directly. You know, they delete it. They don't let anybody talk like freely in there. Very weird. Very suspicious of it. I need to get out of it, but I am doing a live stream right now, and I haven't got the opportunity to get out of it. So with that, let's see. I'm actually gonna pull it up. Since I mentioned it, I'll pull it up real quick. This is not the project. This is just like an old project that I was in at one point. I don't know if I should be showing this live, but whatever. Yeah, let me pull it off and get to where I need. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like I don't use this a lot, so I don't know if I could show anything that would really matter much. I don't think there's anything for you to see that would matter. It's not like my seed phrase, right? It's going to be on Pump.Fun. Anyways, this is it. I'm in no way endorsing this in any way, shape, or form. This is absolutely Banana Republic stuff going on here. He keeps going live. And I'm new to Pump.Fun. Usually you don't ever deal with anything that has like a live streamer attached to it. That's what I've learned. But I think this is pretty funny. And somehow he's back to like pumping it. But he got on and he pumped it. And then he got off and just dumped it. And if you ask any questions in the comms, if you're familiar with Pump.Fun, he just like deletes your comment. It's so weird. Like, why can't he just, is he having internet problems? What the heck? He's told everybody he was going to sleep. It's just funny. But it does kind of bug me because I'm trying to figure out. I got to figure everything out, right? This is the end of the stream. This is the hangout session. If you don't want to know anything about this, you can always check out. Striker Heart says, thanks again, everybody. Absolutely good stream. I appreciate you big time. And we got some new people to come through. This community will grow. We are bottom of the bear market stuff. Like I said, the beautiful part, and I'm just speaking for myself out loud, the beautiful part here is literally that I love doing this, and so I'll be here for me regardless. I have a $32 position into this. It doesn't take much for me to make some money here. It's why I haven't left it alone. And he came on and we pumped like up to 14,000, and this is where you learn, you know. Started seeing dollar signs. I was like, man, we could go to Bond right now. And I was definitely going to sell some at Bond. Like, especially now, if we were to ever somehow get to Bond now, we would definitely sell 75% of it, right? Or more. But the fact that he's back again, I just don't know what the heck is even going on here. So I'm going to be watching this, having a lot of fun. And I'll catch you later. We've been live for 2 hours. 2-hour live stream every day. I'm not ever looking for no sympathy, but think about it. Have you ever done something like a show or something, talked and tried to entertain people for 2 hours a day, 6 days a week? It's quite a bit. But I'm having a great time doing it. I'll see everybody in the Discord. Hit me up if you want to ever talk about anything, or you have any topics you want to talk about, throw them in the Discord. I love to chat with people. You're never going to bother me. But as for right now, stay underground, stay crypto. I'll catch you in the next one, which will be tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Thursday, so we'll have another show tomorrow. And let's see. I doubt many people are here at this point, but I'll be leaving Friday. So we'll have a stream on Friday, but there won't be a stream on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, it's going to be a whole week. I will be far more active, though, in the Discord and stuff like that. All right, guys. Again, I'll say goodbye 100 times. Underground Crypto out. Think long term. Stay underground. Stay crypto. All that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one.